I'm Bia,
I'm Katie,
live
live from
from
New
New England.
England. It's
It's Twilight
Twilight
tonight.
tonight. Wow, wow,
Bow,
wow,
bow,
wow,
bow, bow,
wow,
bow,
wow,
bow,
wow, wow, wow.
bow. Bow, bow,
Bow, bow,
bow.
bow.
Bow, bow, bow. Bow, bow.
Well, hi, I'm Katie,
Oh,
and I'm
I'm
excited to be
Bia.
back. I'm excited to be back for episode 4, Bia.
Yes, episode 4, chapter 4,
Boom, boom, boom.
invitations.
What do we think that
Pretty great.
means? Invitations.
Um, that's a good question. Well, you ask. Do you know what you think invitations means?
I don't know. I feel like I like it, like we kind of said, I wasn't really thinking about it throughout the chapter. So I saw that and I was like, whoa, that's the name of the chapter. I feel like we should think about it and then maybe get back to it at the end because like honestly, I don't know. And I'm gonna think about it because I hadn't in the other two times I've read this chapter. So
Yeah, you're right. So,
yeah.
okay, we'll keep it in mind then. If you are new here, each week we dive into a new chapter from our current book, and right now we are reading Twilight, book one of Stephenie Meyer's Twilight Saga.
And I'm kind of feeling like I'm feeling like Bella this week. It's been a little bit it's I've been jerked around. I've been a little bit confused. Well, I feel like last week I was just kind of going through it emotionally. So I felt like I just, I felt a little like, oh, I hate the world. I'm so angry. As
Oh,
Bia knows, I was definitely doing a lot of complaining last week and just like, oh, I hate everything. So I was feeling a little bit like angsty Bella this week.
thanks, Bella. Well, I am currently feeling like, ah, you know, I I think I might agree with you on Angsty Bella. I did have some tantrums this week. I It was certainly an interesting week for me. I also sickly Bella because this week
Mm.
I did have a cold and just sort of felt like Bella in that scene where the seasons are changing and she's looking out the window.
Well, I was literally gonna say it's the season change because we're like truly transitioning, but it's been like a weird, like, oh, we have warm days, we have cold days. And then
It's been
also
crazy.
the fucking time change happened last night. So if you're feeling extra well rested, you got
That's
an extra
right.
hour of sleep.
Happy
But
daylight
now
savings. Happy No Nut November.
it's currently 3 p.m. By the time we're done recording this, it's going to be basically dark at like 4 o'clock or like 4:30. Yeah. Isn't that
Kitty,
really
I'm
sad?
scared.
I'm really scared. I was like, Charlie, we have to start getting up early. Charlie, I just like I gotta like enjoy the daylight while it exists
Oh
because
my
whew,
God.
yeah. So a little bit scary.
Yeah, definitely scary. I was confused this morning because I checked my phone and I was like, "Oh, it's 8." But Sophia, my cat, was screaming so hungry. She was like,
Mm.
"Please, please, please give me breakfast." And then when I went into the
Oh
kitchen,
no.
I saw the microwave said, it was
Yeah.
actually like 9:30 and I was like, "Oh my gosh." But it's okay, guys. She got an extra big breakfast. We stuffed her this morning. So,
She's fine. But
um,
yeah,
last time we left off with Bella trying to figure out, you know, what happened in the car crash, why Edward was so fast, and she swears that she saw him lift her out of or she swears that she saw a him lift her. Oh my God. I'm
you got it.
sorry.
I believe in you. I believe in you.
Whew. Go.
I'll say it for you.
Thank you.
Um, she swears that she saw Edward lift this van like out of her way. But he keeps insisting that she just hit her head. Bella, you just hit your head.
You're
And
so
then we ended
confused, Bella.
chapter 3 with Bella having her first dream about Edward. Her
Aw.
first dream, implying, oh, okay, we'll get into it.
Yes, so we actually start invitations on page 68, and she is in her dream for Edward, and she sees Edward radiating in this light. She sees him like with his back is turned from her, and he's walking away. So he's keeping
Leaving
a
her in the blackness. Sorry, I just
Yes.
think I feel like I point this out a couple times throughout like our notes. The writing in this is so fucking melodramatic. I couldn't see his face, just his back as he walked away from me, leaving me in the blackness.
It is so melodramatic, you're right. And I feel like whenever I read it, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh
But
no, I love it. I eat it up. Like I eat it up. I love it. But it does just sometimes like it takes me out of it and it makes me giggle a little bit, you know? That's
absolutely.
all.
She says that she's like running towards him and she's trying to catch up to him. But she says, no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't catch up to him. No matter how loud I called, he never turned.
And I feel like we were saying that this like he's been so hot and cold with her. She really just like doesn't know what's going on. And I feel like, it could represent her. She just can't keep up. She can't keep up with what's going on. I also feel like it could represent her maybe not feeling good enough for him. Like she kind of goes into that a little bit more this chapter. And like I think we a little bit last chapter, how she was just like, he's so out of my league. Like I don't know. I feel like that it could also just represent that. And also, he's just actively ignoring her. So, like, no matter how loud I called, he never returned. He just ignores her. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. But yeah, she has dreams about him nearly every night after that. And then there's a time skip. Do you want to read
She
that
says
too?
after that, he was in my dreams nearly every night, but always on the periphery, never within reach.
And then
So,
there's a time skip,
yes, she skips 1 month, you
which is
says.
crazy. Because I feel like the timeline of this book is always like it's a hot topic online, I feel like, because it is like a very quick timeline. But I feel like she just skips a whole month, which I don't know, that's crazy to me. I was just so shocked by that.
It is crazy. She just sort of goes really quickly, like, whenever Edward is not there, there's nothing noteworthy to talk about. And so she dreams of Edward,
Oh my
and
God.
she's like, oh, yeah, I was the center of attention after this accident. And then a month went by.
Oh my God, Bia, you're so right about that because she doesn't like any of her friends, so it's not like she is hanging. Dang,
I mean, just to
that's
emphasize that,
crazy.
right? She says Tyler Crowley was impossible, following me around, obsessed with making amends with me somehow. Yeah, just emphasizing that she really doesn't like anybody. And
No. Okay, I will say all of the guys in this chapter are so fucking annoying. Like they are all insufferable and I hate all of them, like including Edward. They're all awful. So
in
maybe
this
not awful,
scene,
just like annoying.
very, very annoying. And this chapter is so funny because we get to see even more of them being obsessed with Bella and just
Obsessed. But I mean, so Tyler is following her around. It's making Mike and Eric annoyed. Bella says Mike and Eric were even less friendly toward him than they were to each other, which made me worry that I'd gained another unwelcome fan, which I think is funny.
oh, and
They're
it is
really like fans though, like fan behavior.
seriously, Tyler Crowley starts sitting with them at lunch. And so he used to not, and now he's sitting with them. And the guys are all obsessed with Bella. The girls all slightly hate Bella.
I mean, I
And
would. Okay, I wouldn't.
right?
I wouldn't now, but when I was 14 years old, 15 years old, and there was a new girl that everyone loved, I'd be jealous. Maybe I wouldn't hate her. I wouldn't hate her,
Like
but I'd be
your
jealous.
crush is now head over heels over Bella. And come on. Yeah.
Like I feel like Jessica, we'll get a little bit more into Jessica, but I have oh Bia's maybe gonna periodically disappear throughout this episode if you're watching the video because just some technical issues, but she'll be back. Don't worry. There she is. I don't know. I'm kind of a Jessica defender a little bit, so I'll get into that. I'll get into that.
Oh. Then she says on page 69, no one seemed concerned about Edward. Edward. No one seemed concerned about Edward, though I explained over and over that he was the hero, how he had pulled me out of the way and he had nearly been crushed. I tried to be convincing. Jessica, Mike, Eric, and everyone else always commented that they haven't even seen him there until the van was pulled away.
More validation that he wasn't there. He wasn't fucking there because Tyler says it in the hospital last chapter. Three more people. No, yeah, yeah,
She says
everyone.
everyone else,
Everyone.
like everyone.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad. Like I'm just like, because Edward is truly like gaslight extraordinaire
Yeah.
in like the next couple, like at least last chapter and this one. And I'm just glad she has some validation from other people because I would go crazy if I were her, if I didn't have
Yeah.
other people being like, yeah, he wasn't there.
And it's almost like he, like, she really notices him, but no one else really does. She says, with chagrin, I realized the probable cause, why they hadn't seen him before the van was pulled away. No one else was as aware of Edward as I always was. No one else watched him the way I did. How pitiful.
Damn. Damn. That is like, damn. I literally, I have nothing else to say about that. That is a crazy line.
It's she's not only obsessed with him and seeing like I mean maybe obsessed isn't the right word, but
But she's really self-aware of this crush and how it's like, I mean, everyone's had a high school crush. Like, you're very aware of that person and like every class that they have
yes,
and when you'll pass them in the hallway. And like, so
who they're standing next to at lunch.
exactly. So it's like, I get it, but it is also just like, it's funny to kind of be on the outside of it. It is kind of pitiful. I feel like whenever you're in that state, you do feel like a little pathetic of like, oh, dang, they got me wrapped around their finger, like that kind of thing a little bit.
Yeah. And I think she's also like, oh, he's so amazing. Like it's such a pity that nobody else is so aware of him. But it goes to show how successful the Cullens have been at, keeping themselves under the radar. And now that Bella's here, all of a sudden, Edward's
Yeah.
name is getting thrown around.
But then right after that, she says Edward was never surrounded by the crowds of fury or of curious bystanders eager for his first-hand account. And I literally think it's because he's an asshole. Like they're not no one's everyone's avoiding the Cullens and the Hales because they're kind of jerks. They think they're better than everyone because they're 100 years old. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would think I'm better than everyone too. So I don't know. I just think I get it on both sides. Like I wouldn't want to be all up in their business because they're just rude. But I also get why they're rude. Yeah. That's my that's my opinion on it. Oh, she says none of them, especially Edward, glanced my way anymore. Oh, woof. That sucks. Okay, so page 70. I feel like we concluded page 69. Ha ha ha. He
She's
sat really far away from her in class.
it's important to note that, it's not that Edward isn't around, he's just completely ignoring her. And so she has nothing to report. And she says that, yeah, he sits next to her, but like pushes his chair really far away. And then he has his like fists in super tight, super tight fists, skin stretched even wider over the bones.
She basically just wonders if he wasn't as quite as oblivious as he appeared. And at this point, I noted that she's really observant. Like she's really observant, especially about him. And I just want to make a note of that I wrote that literally in my book. It says you're not gonna be able to see it, but it says observant AF. And I just want to make note of that because later in this chapter, it just becomes relevant later. So I just want to make a note of that. But yeah, I don't know. He's just like,
Yeah, she's able to pick up on the tiny little things that somebody else might just brush off. And I think that is probably because of the relationship that she has with her mom, but I won't get into that.
Oh, that's yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, she's picking up on the annoyance, and I said that maybe it's not so much annoyance with her, but actually him trying to control himself from speaking with her. And his eyes, again, are black, I'm pretty sure. They've changed back to black.
And she talks about their encounter, like, she was like, the last time I had talked to him, was outside the ER when we've been so furious. But she said that her anger had faded into awed gratitude, like AWED. She was in awe of, like, what he had done for her. When she returned to biology, she tried to be pleasant. She said, "Hello, Edward." And he literally turned his head a fraction towards her without meeting her gaze, nodded once, and then looked the other way. That is
And
cold.
and that was the last contact I'd had with him, though he was there a foot away from me every day. I watched him sometimes, unable to stop myself. From a distance, though, in the cafeteria or parking lot. I watched as his golden eyes grew perceptibly darker day by day.
A
Yeah.
lot about the eyes in this chapter, a lot about the color of eyes, which
I feel like
makes
is very
sense.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One thing I did love about this, Renee had kind of a good moment here. Bella says, despite my outright lies, the tenor of my emails alerted Renee to my depression, and she called a few times, worried. And then Bella was like, just convinced her that it was just the weather. But I don't know. I think that's nice that at least Renee is in tune with her emotions, like her daughter's emotions, enough that she's like, hey, something's not right. I don't know. Maybe that's the bare minimum, but
I, right. Maybe it is, but I'm really glad that somebody is checking in on her because I feel like it is sort of awkward. But Charlie really keeps to himself, and so
you gotta have someone looking out. But then
let's.
we get to Mike.
Mike is pretty excited that Edward and Bella aren't talking anymore, and he starts chatting her up at the desk. He starts like just basically pretending that Edward isn't there, and
He's so annoying. He's so annoying in this chapter. I
it
hate
says
him in this chapter.
he's really all of the guys are really
Oh my God,
annoying.
it's
Like
so bad.
it says he grew more confident sitting on the edge of my table to talk before biology class started, ignoring Edward as completely as he ignored us.
Like, I don't know. Can you just imagine that image of him sitting on the fucking desk, just ignore? Because clearly Bella's like probably a little upset about this. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's such like a guy thing to do. Oh, this
Yeah,
chapter made me really hate him. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I think the movie redeemed him a little bit. I think they tried to make him not as annoying because he's so annoying in this book.
yeah, I think the guys were a lot less persistent in the movie than they are in this book, at least so far. And then we also learn that there is a girls' choice dance coming up. Jessica tells Bella about it, and she said she called the first Tuesday of March to ask my permission to invite Mike to the girls' choice spring dance in 2 weeks. Are you sure you don't mind? You weren't planning to ask him? She persisted when I told her I didn't mind in the least.
Like, I feel like Bella is not showing any signs that she likes any of these guys back. Like, why? I literally wrote LOL next to it because I'm like, why? Bella's not interested. Also, I wanted to point out one wording, like a paragraph before. She says, Jessica made me aware of another event looming on the horizon. Girl, it's not like a fucking thunderstorm. Like, I don't know. I don't know. She's just like so like she's like, oh, I hate being social. Like, I don't it's just funny to me. The word choice was funny. But yeah, she
Yeah,
assures Jess she's not going. Jess like half-heartedly is like, no, you should go. It'll be fine.
yeah. And Bella's like, no, you have fun with Mike. She says, the next day, I was surprised that Jessica wasn't her usual gushing self in trig and Spanish. She was silent as she walked by my side between classes, and I was afraid to ask her why. If Mike had turned her down, I was the last person she would want to tell. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
so
fair. Super, super fair. She also, Bella says this about Jessica on page 71. I suspected that Jessica enjoyed my inexplicable popularity more than my actual company. I think that is definitely a theme. I think that Bella's the new girl. It's exciting. All the guys are obsessed with her. And I'm sure it's like, Jessica's guy friends. It's the guy she has a crush on. And my theory is that Jessica's like, I got to keep this girl close because Mike has a crush on her and I gotta know her intentions. And she's just like, but also I think it could be that the popularity aspect of it all of just like, she's the new girl, I gotta latch onto this because people are paying attention to her. So by proxy, they'll pay attention to me.
yeah.
So I don't know.
It's really interesting, and I still am trying to figure out the Jessica character and figure out where, like, which side she's coming from. Because, again, I think back to the movies, and I think back,
She
maybe
is
I
a little bit
shouldn't,
of a
but
bitch. She's a little bit of a bitch sometimes,
she
especially in
is
the
a,
movies. But at the end of the day, they're all like 16. And like, I get where she's coming from. This new girl comes in, everyone's obsessed with her. The hot guy that no one, he never pays attention to anyone, is paying attention to her. I would be so annoyed. I'm a Jessica defender a little bit at the end of the day. But yeah,
she is just a normal girl.
Mike most likely turned her down. She's sad. I do feel bad.
I feel bad, and then I am also, oh my God, I do not remember what we were talking about.
So I do.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Thank God.
So, we left off where Jessica was upset. She wasn't sitting next to Mike at lunch, and then Mike comes into bio, and he is annoying as ever.
He goes, so, Jessica asked me out to the spring dance.
And okay, before he says that, the whole time I'm gonna read this. He says, she says, Mike was still quiet as he walked me to class. The uncomfortable look on his face was a bad sign, but he didn't broach the subject until I was in my seat and he was perched on my desk. I don't like that. Why did you have to put he's above you? Sh Like he put her, I don't know. I just like don't like that positioning and he like kind of cornered her in class. I don't know. I just don't like it. And then she says, as always, I was electrically aware of Edward sitting close enough to touch, as distant as if he were merely an invention of my imagination. So fucking dramatic.
It feels so dramatic, but at the same time, the way that nobody notices him,
Well, they do, but like since he hates everyone, they just like I feel like everyone notices him, but then like he goes to the back burner because he's just a Hawkeye who doesn't like anybody.
right, you're right, you're right.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like everyone has something to say about the Cullens, but they don't really pay them any mind, like on a day-to-day basis, I feel like. You know what I mean? They're kind
You're
of like
so
busy.
right.
They're like busybodies about it. They're just like, oh yeah, they're all foster children and they're all dating. Yeah, he mentions that Jessica asked him out.
Bella's like, yes, have fun. And Mike's like, I told her I would think about it.
He's just being so annoying. Like, get to the fucking point. Stop beating around the fucking bush. I hate it. I hate him.
Bella says, why would you do that? I let disapproval color my tone, though I was relieved he hadn't given her an absolute no. His face was bright red as he looked down again. Pity shook my resolve. I was
Yeah,
wondering,
I would. He's like a little pathetic little puppy dog.
like, bright red, and he's looking down and he's so embarrassed, and I'm honestly just grossed out. I
So
always want
grossed
to
out.
win well, if you might be planning to ask me. Dog, it is a girl's choice dance. It is not up to you to come and ask the girl to ask her
Uh-uh.
to ask you. It's not up to you to come and ask her if she's going to plan to ask you.
Also, she has not done a single thing to make you think that she likes you. You walk her to class. You talk her ear off. She's not fucking saying anything. And then she literally says, well, okay, first of all, she recognizes that out of the corner of her eye, Edward, like his eyes, he kind of like notices. And then this is like a mom telling her son. She says, Mike, I think you should tell her yes. That is that is like a son or a mom being like, I think you should go wash your butt. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry, that was a bad example.
No, I think it was a perfect example. It
Do you know what
exactly,
I mean?
yes,
It
yes.
is so pathetic.
Mike, I think you should tell her yes.
I think he keeps going. He keeps going.
He asks her, did you already ask someone? Did Edward notice how Mike's eyes flickered in his direction? No, I assured him. I'm not going to the dance at all. Why not?
He's such a little bitch boy. I do not like him. Oh, but we also have another clumsy Bella moment.
Yes,
She's like, I didn't want to get into the safety hazards that dancing presented, so I quickly made new plans. And then she says she's going to Seattle.
I needed to get out of town anyway. It was suddenly the perfect time to go. Can't you go some other weekend? Sorry, no. So you shouldn't make Jess wait any longer. It's rude.
Like truly shut down multiple times. That's embarrassing. That is so fucking embarrassing, dog. I
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Yeah, you're right." And he dejectedly walks back to his seat.
Like, I just imagine him just,
No, literally, like hunched shoulders, dopey little fucking look on his face. Ugh. I do not like Mike. This chapter like made me hate Mike. Maybe he'll redeem himself, but oh. And then Edward just starts fucking staring at her. Edward was staring at me curiously, that same familiar edge of frustration, even more distinct now in his black eyes. And then she stares back, and they have a staring contest, basically.
I stared back, surprised, expecting him to look quickly away, but instead he continued to gaze with probing intensity into my eyes. There was no question of me looking away. My hands started to shake.
They're fucking little freaks. Like they're just
Yeah.
staring at each other at the lab table, shaking. They're so weird.
They're freaks, and turns out that like they're in the middle of like, like class starts and the teacher like asks Edward a question and of course he knows the answer.
Yeah, because he's been to
Then
school 700 million fucking times. It's just like an
they
intense moment. She's like, we haven't had this moment in a half a dozen weeks. So now it's 6 weeks since the car accident. It's fucking crazy.
She said, I wouldn't allow him to have this level of influence over me. It was pathetic, more than pathetic. It was unhealthy. And that's because she feels all of this, like this huge rush of emotion. She's so excited and she like hides her face because she's so excited that they just had this super long looking,
Looking.
hard eye
Um,
contact. Yes, it is interesting that she uses the word unhealthy because a lot of people talk about Edward and Bella's relationship as being unhealthy because she's so young and he's like even though he doesn't try to, she is making this huge life decision because of him. And we've yet to get
yeah,
um
we're
to
and
that, of course, but she's really obsessed with him. He's a master manipulator. He's
and she's already feeling that like influence that she has over him, and they haven't talked in 6 weeks. That's scary.
yeah,
That's scary. And even if it's like this unspoken intensity, that's a little freaky. Like I know, like, hey, with my boyfriend, sometimes I'm like, damn, yeah, he's got me in the palm of his hands. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of scary. So it's like, I get it,
right.
but she doesn't even, she barely knows this guy. So that's even freakier.
Yeah,
Like,
they've
and
only
I
talked a
do.
couple of times and she's already feeling that it's unhealthy.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me sad because I feel like we see so much, especially in these first couple chapters of Bella being like very mature, very responsible, and like making good decisions. But I feel like when it comes to Edward, she can't always do that because he has this like crazy influence over her. And like, it's really interesting.
That's a really good point. She says that for the rest of the class, she tried not to be aware of him. And since that was impossible, at least not let him know that I was aware of him.
And then he speaks
And
to her after 6 weeks. Bella. His voice shouldn't have been so familiar to me, as if I'd known the sound of it all my life, rather than for just a few short weeks. Calm
literally,
down,
my
bro.
heart
Calm down.
stopped for me. I'm like, oh, they're meant to be.
She unwillingly turns around. I would be wary because he's been such a fucking little weirdo and just ignoring
Yeah.
her for 6 weeks.
She says, I didn't want to feel what I knew I would feel when I looked at his too perfect face.
Do you think that Bella is attracted to Edward? Do you feel like she thinks he's cute?
I think he's pretty handsome.
He's okay. And then she says, "What? Are you speaking to me again?"
Ooh.
He deserves it. He freaking deserves it. An unintentional note of petulance in my voice. I feel like it should be intentional. Just own it.
And his lips twitched, fighting a smile. So he likes that little bit of fire. Okay, Bella should have been Latina. He says, no, not really, he admitted.
That's kind of funny. Not really. I'm not really. I gotta say one thing. And she goes, "Then what do you want, Edward?"
I'm sorry. He sounded sincere. I'm being very rude, I know. But it's better this way, really. I opened my eyes. His face was very serious.
I don't know what you mean.
It's better if we're not friends.
He's a
Trust me.
fucking weirdo. He's so weird. Imagine if someone said that to you after not talking to you for 6 weeks and they go, it's better if we're not friends. Trust me. What? What
Scary.
do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? My eyes narrowed. I heard that before. What do you mean you've heard that before? Who's telling you that in Phoenix? I don't know. She's so confusing for me sometimes. It's so confusing sometimes to be Bella. She's just so pissed this whole time. She says, it's too bad you didn't figure that out earlier. You could have saved yourself all this regret.
Oh my God.
We get into this.
Regret? The word and my tone obviously caught him off guard. Regret for what?
We're not just letting that stupid van squish me.
Oh
She's
boy.
crazy. She's literally saying, like, you should just let me die. You regret it. She's so crazy. He was astonished. He stared at me in disbelief.
Because it is some fuck shit to say. Absolutely. I wrote in the notes, this is probably how I don't know why it says all my boyfriends as if I have 10 boyfriends
All of your past and present boyfriend.
that stare at me when I say some fuck shit. So true.
That's so
And
funny. I mean, yeah, she is really like, again, she's so dramatic. They're both so dramatic, but I don't know, I guess he has a line.
yeah, he's like, what? Girl, I wouldn't, what? Probably because like he is vegetarian, so maybe he's offended that she thinks that he would kill a person because he's got all this, you
Well, he
know.
wouldn't have killed her. He just wouldn't have saved her. Jesus Christ, I feel like there's a difference.
I suppose you're right.
He says, regret for what? She says, for not just letting that stupid band squish me.
You think I regret saving your life?
Hot. And then she goes, I know you do.
You don't know anything. He was definitely mad.
And then she turns away from him, clenching her jaw. She's like, I want to dramatically walk out of the room. But then she drops her books because she's clumsy Bella. And he helps her pick them up. And then she says, thank you, icily. And then she goes to Jim. Jim was brutal because she's not athletic. She's clumsy.
She's very clumsy. Her team never passed her the ball, so that was good, but she fell down a lot.
Womp womp. She's so dramatic again. She goes, it was a relief, as always, to leave. As she's walking out to the parking lot. And then Bia, who does she see when she walks out to that damn parking lot?
I almost had a stroke when I rounded the corner and saw a doll,
No, I saw a
sorry.
dog. Take a breath. You
Uh,
got this.
as she's approaching, she sees a tall, dark figure standing by the side of her truck, and she almost has a stroke because she thinks that it's Edward, but then I realized it was just Eric. I started walking again. Hey, Eric, I called. Hi,
Hi.
Bella. What's up? I said as I was unlocking the door. I wasn't paying attention to the uncomfortable edge in his voice, so the next words took me by surprise. I was just wondering, would you like to go to the spring dance with me?
His voice broke on the last word.
Would you like to go to the spring dance with me? I don't know. That
No,
was my
that's
best
perfect.
attempt.
That was perfect.
And she says facts. She says, I thought it was girls' choice. Too
Well, yeah.
startled to be diplomatic. Bella for president, maybe.
She has, I think in like the first chapter, she also talked about being diplomatic.
Yeah, she says it a lot. Yeah.
I thought it was
And
girls' choice. Well, yeah.
shamefaced. I recovered my composure and tried to make my smile warm. Thank you for asking me, but I'm going to be in Seattle that day. Oh, well, maybe next time.
This is so funny. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like it's probably hard for the people at home to follow because we're laughing so hard, but truly, like, I it makes all of the interactions with the guys in this fucking chapter make me so deeply uncomfortable, but I can't help but giggle like really hard.
It's so
Um,
uncomfortable. And Bella says sure because she's just trying to be nice,
he
she
slouches off to school,
and then she hears a low chuckle.
and fucking guess who's walking by? Edward fucking Cullen, that mean guy who's laughing. I don't know. Look, I don't like Eric, and that was an annoying thing to like be like, you want to ask me to the dance? But I do kind of feel bad for him. Remember, guys, Bella did describe Eric as like oily and pimply faced or whatever in the first chapter. Like,
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
tore him up in the first chapter. So I don't know. Edward's just such a little jerk. He's just like so smug.
Oh, he's
Um,
laughing at the whole interaction, and Bella's pissed. She gets in her truck and she's turning it on. She's trying to leave as quickly as possible. And then Edward cuts her off in the parking lot and just idles in front of her as his siblings freaking walk to his car at a leisurely pace and all get in.
And Bella also, this is the first time that she mentions taking out the rear of his shiny Volvo. But she
Yes.
says there are too many witnesses. I think she says that multiple times in this chapter, so I just wanted to make a little bit of a note.
I love her. She did, when she first got her truck, she's like, this is the type of truck that would crush a convertible.
No,
Love
literally.
her.
But it is insane that he cut her off and then stopped.
Yep,
Like, I would go fucking.
completely
It's
on
like when someone
purpose.
gets in the left lane in front of you and then goes slow. I'm like, what
Yes.
the fuck? And then guess who's directly behind her?
Tyler Crowley.
It's like a jump scare.
No, literally, she looks in her rearview mirror and he's waving at her and she's like, "Oh, hey."
And then like a second later, she looks back again. His fucking door is open. The car is still on. And he knocks on her. He starts tapping on her fucking window. She has to crank it down because she's got a fucking window crank.
And Bella is like, "Sorry, Tyler. I'm stuck behind Cullen." "Oh, I know. I just wanted to ask you something while we're trapped here." He
And then
grinned.
she thinks in her mind, this could not be happening, which I think is so funny.
"You asked me to the swing dance." He continued.
I'm not going to be in town, Tyler. And then my voice sounded a little sharp. I had to remember it wasn't his fault that Mike and Eric had already used up my quota of patience for the day. Look, she's too nice. I go the fuck away, Tyler. And
Then,
then you go.
literally the next page, he said, "Yeah, Mike said that."
The
What?
audacity, the fucking. And then she goes, then why? And he cuts her off.
I was hoping you were letting him down easy. And then she says in her head, "Okay, it was completely his fault."
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler. I really am going out of town.
That's cool. We still have prom.
Gross. Gross, 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 gross. All of these guys are gross. He literally traps her because there's a fucking car in front of her. He's behind her. He gets out of his stupid little car, walks up, and it's like, be, won't let her say no, basically. I cannot with the stupid fucking little boys in this chapter. All of them, even Edward, all of them being little immature little fucking boys.
And before she can even say anything else, he's gone. He's back in his car. And she looks forward, and they're all, all the Cullens and Hales are in the car. And in his rearview mirror, Edward's eyes were on me. He was unquestionably shaking with laughter, as if he'd heard every word Tyler had just said. My foot itched towards the gas pedal. One little bump wouldn't hurt any of them, just that glossy silver paint job.
I revved the engine. She just is like, sometimes Bella is so funny to me and like so relatable. And then other times she's just being like melodramatic and being like, oh, I was lonely, but I wasn't alone. But yeah, she really wants to hit that damn car. And then they speed away. And she says, I drove home slowly, carefully, muttering to myself the whole way. Girl, listen to the radio. Turn on a podcast. Turn on Twilight tonight.
She drives home, she makes chicken enchiladas, and she gets a call from Jessica, and she was jubilant. Mike had caught her after school to accept her invitation. I celebrated with her briefly while I stirred. Well,
And then we get a mention of Lauren, okay, guys? And I don't, okay.
Yes.
She says she had to go. She wanted to call Angela and Lauren to tell them. I suggested with casual innocence that maybe Angela, the shy girl who had biology with me, could ask Eric, and Lauren, a standoffish girl who had always ignored me at the lunch table, could ask Tyler. And Jess thought that was a great idea. So we know Angela, obviously. We know Angela and Eric. We know that couple. We
Yes.
know Tyler in the movie as the guy that almost hit Bella with the car.
Yeah.
And then we don't know Lauren. Lauren is not in the movies. And I
Yes.
mean, I get it because she's kind of just I think we'll learn more about her a little bit, maybe, but I mean she ignored Bella, so no need to have her in the damn movie anyway, I guess. But it is crazy that I think it's great when there's like not great, but it's like a fun little ooh when there's a new character that's not in the movies.
Exactly. It's really fun and you get to enjoy. I don't know what I'm saying. You're right, Katie.
Okay, so page 79. We never heard of Lauren, but now we'll keep track on her. We'll give you Lauren updates whenever she's mentioned.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And then, she's making dinner and she's ruminating on why Edward had said that they couldn't be friends.
Because it is a weird thing to just randomly say.
And she says, my stomach twisted as I realized what he must have meant. He must see how absorbed I was by him. He must not want to lead me on. So we couldn't even be friends because he wasn't interested in me at all. Of course he wasn't interested in me, I thought angrily, my eyes stinging. A delayed reaction to the onions. Sure, Bella. I wasn't
LOL.
interesting, and he was interesting and brilliant and mysterious and perfect and beautiful and possibly able to lift full-size vans with one hand. Spiraling. She
No,
really
literally. She's just like
continues like
cooking
for
and
a while.
spiraling.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, well, I can leave him alone. I would leave him alone. I would get through my self-imposed sentence here in purgatory, and then hopefully some school in the Southwest or possibly Hawaii would offer me a scholarship. I underline that because that is so fucking random to me.
That is
Her
so
wanting to go to school in Hawaii, like, I don't know. It obviously the Southwest makes sense because that is where she's from, but it just felt so random to me.
yeah.
And she focused her thoughts on sunny beaches and palm trees as she finished the enchiladas and put them in the oven. The way she's like obsessed with Edward is truly a little concerning.
It is a little concerning. She is really obsessed, and I feel really bad that she's treating herself like this because she is really intelligent and she is so funny and she's so caring, like to a fault, like we see with her mother. And
She's just an insecure 16-year-old girl, which we all understand, but I
yeah,
think she's comparing herself to this guy and she's putting him on a pedestal, which like look, I get it. He is really spectacular because he's 100 and fucking 20 years old or what 118 or whatever the fuck his age is.
y-
And I don't know. I just think that I feel bad for her. I agree. I agree with you. I feel bad for her.
yeah.
Then, so Charlie, guys, this is so funny. Charlie seemed suspicious when he came home and smelled the green peppers. I couldn't blame him. The closest edible Mexican food was probably in Southern California. But because he's a cop, he was brave enough to take the first bite, which I think is just so funny. He's never had a fucking chicken enchilada.
I guess they don't have chicken enchiladas in Seattle.
I guess they
Comment
don't have
down
those.
below if you're in Seattle and do you
Or
have
just like the
chicken
Pacific
enchiladas there?
Northwest. Like does like anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, Forks, Tacoma. But yeah, and then she asks if she can actually go to Seattle. So she's like actually interested. And it wasn't just a cover.
Yes. He sounded surprised, as if he were unable to imagine something that Forks couldn't offer. And she says she wants to get some books because she's a nerd.
Some clothes. She says she wanted to get a few books. The library here is pretty limited and maybe look at some clothes. I had more money than I was used to having since, thanks to Charlie, I hadn't had to pay for a car. Not that the truck didn't cost me quite a bit in the gas department. I feel like
hmm
that's touched on a lot in like this chapter, but also like in the first couple chapters, I was just like, that's a gas guzzler. Like,
I know, right? I wonder what kind of car Stephenie Meyer drives. I'd be really interested to know.
like what she drove when she was writing this.
Hmm
Mm.
Yeah.
See, I think. We definitely need to maybe do like a deep dive into Stephenie at some point and like get some more background on her because yeah, I think that would really maybe give us some context as to why she made some of these writing decisions.
Yeah.
Or just like the character choices or whatever. But yeah, she's just basically convincing Charlie to let her go. He's like, "You going all by yourself?"
He asked, and I couldn't tell if he was suspicious I had a secret boyfriend or just worried about car trouble. Yes,
Seattle's a big city. You could get lost.
Dad, Phoenix is 5 times the size of Seattle, and I can read a map. Don't worry about it.
So B, I do just want to point out on our little notes sheet, you said you can't read a map. And so Bia wrote in our notes, he gets worried she'll get lost and she says she can read a map. Bia in parentheses says, I cannot. Can you? And I said, Bia, I feel like you could read a map if you tried because it
You're
really
right.
is just like looking where point A to point B is and then like finding a route. Obviously, we have Google Maps and all that fun stuff, and it gives you the quickest one, but like at the end of the day, if you're lost,
What I'm saying is like if I did not know where I was, I feel like it's kind of hard. I don't know.
well, no, it
Maybe I'm
is.
just
You're
dumb.
right. But if you like, I mean, I don't know if
I
your
guess
mom
you
ever
just have
did
to
like
like
Google
walk.
Maps or like MapQuest when they used to have like the literal like directions. They also have the physical map, little printout, and you
Yeah,
have to. The highways also have like a numbering system, and the
you're
interstates have
right.
numbering
I
systems.
just
So
have to
like
walk to somewhere where I see signage and then check the map and figure out where
I
I am
also
from
just, I
there.
was, that's the thing. I think if you were put in a situation where you had to use a map, you absolutely could.
I think so too. You're
That's
right.
my opinion on it. I was just like, you gotta have faith in yourself, you know?
You're
Uh,
absolutely right. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Oh
of
God.
course. Oh gosh. And then Charlie offers to come with her, and she's like, no, I'm just gonna be in the dressing room all day.
Oh, um, oh, invitations. Maybe.
Oh my God, we're so stupid. They're all inviting her to the dance. We are so stupid. Or I guess I should,
Hey,
oh
we're
my
really
God, I'm
smart.
stupid because you figured it
We're
out.
really smart. We're
You're
really
right. We're
smart.
really smart, Bia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We're
Please
really
forgive
smart.
me. Bia's been really encouraging me to be positive and not negative recently, so
Yes,
I'm trying
it's
my
very
best.
important to speak the truth into reality. Charlie's just making sure she's going to be safe to go to Seattle, and he's like, "Are you sure you don't want me to come with you?" And she says, "No, Dad, I'm going to be in a dressing room all day. Very boring. You don't gotta come." Which I don't think Bella's going to be in a dressing room all day. I'm going to be honest with you. She doesn't seem like a
No.
fashionista,
And
but
then Charlie fucking asks, he goes, will you be back in time for the dance? And she goes, grr, only in a town this small would a father know when the high school dances were.
oh
That sentence
boy.
is funny because, first of all, it's actually totally fine that a father knows when his kids, like what's going on in his kids' lives. I don't know. But also go Charlie. And then she goes, no, I don't dance, Dad. He, of all people, should understand that. I didn't get my balance problems from my mother. Damn, Bella.
This whole time, I've never heard about Charlie being clumsy, so I don't know. I think she's just
That's-
projecting.
No, I think I know. He's a fucking police chief. Like,
Right?
I hope he's not clumsy.
Woo, woo,
Um,
woo, 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 woo.
but yeah,
That's
the next day, sorry.
sorry, that's the slip and fall sound effect, by the way.
The next day she parks away from the Volvo. She says, fuck that bitch. But then guess who's right there picking up her keys when she dropped them?
Edward.
Good guess. Really good guess, Bia. She goes, how do you do that? I asked in amaze irritation.
Do what? He held my key out as he spoke. As I reached for it, he dropped it into my palm. They don't touch.
They don't touch you right. And she says, appear out of thin air. As in, that's what he just does all the freaking time.
Bella, it's not my fault that you are exceptionally unobservant. Oh my God, that is so mean.
Also, I made a note earlier in the chapter, didn't read this yet, and I said she's observant as hell when she was
Yeah.
talking about his knuckles. And then he
Yeah.
says that, like
Oh my
that's mean. He's
gosh.
mean. He's just mean. And she scowled at his perfect face. Girl, chill. We get it. You think he's hot. Like I'm just like he's being mean to you.
His eyes were light again today, a deep golden honey color. Then I had to look down to reassemble my now tangled thoughts. And then she asks him about the day before. She is like, "Hey, what the hell? Why did you do that? I thought you were supposed to be pretending that I don't exist, not irritating me to death." And he says, "That was for Tyler's sake, not mine. I had to give him his chance." He snickered.
You She
Why I
gasps.
oughta.
Literally, that's what I was thinking. She says, I couldn't think of a bad enough word. I felt like the heat of my anger should physically burn him, but he only seemed more amused. And then he says, and I'm not a pretending you don't exist. Yes, you
So,
are, dude.
so you are trying to irritate me to death since Tyler's van didn't do the job? And, again, reference to her dying, he's like,
It's like the
"Arr."
third time where she's like, you just wanted me to die.
He says, "Bella, you are utterly absurd."
Mean. My palms tingled. I wanted so badly to hit something. And then she turns her back and walks away.
And he goes, "Wait, wait." I kept walking, sloshing angrily through the rain, but he was next to me, easily keeping pace. "I'm sorry. That was rude," he said as we walked. I ignored him. "I'm not saying it isn't true," he continued, "but it was rude to say it anyway." So,
He's
continues to be
insane.
rude.
He's so fucking rude. And then she goes, why won't you leave me alone? I wanted to ask you something, but you sidetracked me, he chuckled. He seemed to have recovered his good humor. Do you have a multiple personality disorder? I asked severely. Whoa, Stephenie, calm down. And then he goes, you're doing it again. I sighed. Fine then. What do you want to ask? I was wondering if a week from Saturday, the day of the spring dance. And then she goes, are you trying to be funny? Yeah, he is funny. That's honestly really funny.
Will you please
Uh,
allow me to finish? I bit my lip and clasped my hand together, interlocking my fingers so I wouldn't do anything rash.
yeah, no, Bella's a little freak. And then he goes, I heard you say you were going to Seattle that day, and I was wondering if you wanted a ride. How did he like that? He's just admitting that I don't know. I think if I were him, I would not be admitting that I overheard
Well,
this conversation that happened. Oh, the one in with the
with
mic. Never
Belle,
mind.
yeah.
Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, she says that was unexpected. What? I wasn't sure what he was getting at. "Do you want a ride to Seattle?" is how I imagined he said it. Uh, and she said, "With who?"
And this is where he goes, myself, obviously. He enunciated every syllable as if he were talking to someone mentally handicapped. Whoa, Stephenie. Whoa. Stephenie Meyer, I think she says many cancelable things, and this is the first of many.
Yeah. Even
So,
the second of many, because we've got the multiple personality disorder
oh,
right
that's so true. The
before.
second
So
of many. You're
double
so right.
double whammy right there.
Literally, like, not even a page apart. That's so funny. She's crazy. And then she says, why? Because, like, why would he want to drive her? He's been ignoring her for 6 weeks. I'm on Bella's side here. And he says, I was planning to go to Seattle in the next few weeks. And to be honest, I'm not sure if your truck can make it. Rude.
Yeah. She said, "My truck works just fine. Thank you very much for your concern." I started to walk again, but I was too surprised to remain the same level of anger. And then he says something, smug ass
Smug.
Volvo owner.
He's so fucking smug.
"But can your truck make it there on one tank of gas?" What is this, a Volvo commercial?
No, seriously. Why was Stephenie Meyer obsessed with fucking Volvos?
Maybe she drives a Volvo. We got to look
That's what I
into that.
mean. She's either like, because a lot of like rich people like to cosplay as poor. So maybe when she
Mm.
was writing this story, she was like, we're gonna get her a beat up old 74 orange truck because I have a shiny little Volvo. I don't know.
She says, I don't see how that's any of your business, stupid shiny Volvo owner. The stupid shiny Volvo owner was in her head, but still.
And then he goes, the wasting of finite resources is everyone's business. Okay, eco-friendly king. Okay.
Yeah, he really is.
And then she goes, honestly, Edward, I felt a thrill go through me as I said his name, and I hated it. I can't keep up with you. I thought you didn't want to be my friend.
I said it would be better if we weren't friends, not that I didn't want to be.
Oh, thanks. Now that's all cleared up. Heavy sarcasm. I realized I had stopped walking again. We were under the shelter of the cafeteria roof now. Oh, I guess it's raining this whole time.
Yeah,
Didn't
she keeps
realize
saying
that.
that when she looks up at him, her face gets drenched because I guess
Oh,
she's,
oh, she's so
he's
short.
so tall and she's just a tiny little girl.
Oh, that's so funny. And then he
Uh,
says, it would be more prudent for you not to be my friend.
Prudential 617 gang, shout out Boston, let's go. It would be more prudent for you to not be my friend, but I'm tired of trying to stay away from you, Bella.
His eyes were gloriously intense as he uttered that last sentence, his voice smoldering. I couldn't remember how to breathe. She's obsessed with it. I'm sorry, like I get why like housewives were going crazy over this book. I would eat this up. I would have eat this up. I would have eaten this up in 2005.
I'm eating it up.
I just for some reason I always think of like the crazed housewives that loved this.
Oh, I feel like I always think of like, the little girls because I was part of the little girls, but I never thought about the housewives.
Finally, he says, "Will you go to Seattle? Or will you go with me to Seattle?" And she didn't, she nodded. She couldn't speak, so she just nodded.
And he smiled briefly, and then his face became serious. And he said, You really should stay away from me. I'll see you in class. And then
He
he
turned
turned
abrupt.
abruptly. Sorry.
No, I just think of him saying that, like, I'll see you in class, and then like turning around and like skipping away. I don't know. Yeah, and that's the chapter, y'all. Damn, that was a journey.
Crazy. Yeah, it is a journey, and I am so excited for them to go to Seattle together. Oh boy. This is different than in the movie because she goes on her own because she's already like having thoughts that he's a vampire and she does her like Googling.
Cold one. I know. I'm interested to see if maybe the plans get changed and like maybe I don't know. I'm interested to see if they
Yeah.
actually do end up going to Seattle together because like look, we've talked about we both read this. You read the first like couple chapters. I did read this whole book when I was 9. I don't remember the details. I was 9 and I am just really curious to see if that ends up panning out or if it ends up being more similar to the book and she ends up like going with the girls. But we'll see.
Yeah,
We will
I'm
see.
really interested. Yeah, and in case you were wondering, just a fun fact of this chapter, it's from January 25th to March 3rd, 2005.
Oh, like in the book?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So we did learn some important information here. I would say like about his like vampirism.
Vampiric.
Um so he reacts to conversations that he couldn't possibly have heard, like the conversation in the car with Tyler and then the one with Eric. Bella when looking into Edward's eyes, Bella gets completely tongue-tied. Yeah, we did
Oh.
see a lot of that this chapter where Bella's just like, his perfect face. I gazed into his golden orbs. She actually hasn't said orbs yet, and I don't think she will, but that feels just, I don't know, a lot of this writing gives me like fan fiction vibes.
Orbs.
You did
I'll,
not
I'll be
really
honest,
read fan.
yeah, I
So,
didn't
okay.
read fan fiction.
So Bia me and Bia are so similar, but also so different, especially in the way that we grew up. And like, I was like a One Direction girl, like all that fun stuff.
I was a Black Veil Brides
I
girl.
was gonna say, I eventually had my emo phase, but before that, I had a heavy like One Direction phase. And so, therefore, I read a lot of fan fiction. But I don't know. I think that's
I
why some of these phrases, like some of these things where you're like, oh, it's so romantic. I'm like, oh. It just like reminds me of when I was like 12 and reading like other fan fiction that was written by like 14-year-olds. So,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. I used to watch YouTube videos that had like sh short fan fiction sentences.
imagines.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Back to our important info learned. Finally, Edward thinks that it is dangerous for Bella to be friends with him.
And it just might be.
And Ella, Edward is also a little freak this whole time. And he's just like, we can't be friends. But then he talks to her and then he ignores her and then I don't know. And then he's mean to her and he calls her absurd and unobservant.
Yeah. She's
Sorry.
not.
She's not.
Sorry.
My final conclusion is that I already said this, it's not really a conclusion. My final take here is that all of the guys in this chapter suck and I hate them all and they're all annoying.
As
I'm team
usual,
no
the
one.
yep, yep. The I was gonna say, as usual, the only guy who is reasonable is Charlie, and he's just like, "Are you sure you're gonna have enough guests? Do you want me to come? No? Okay." He's just a dad trying to hang out with his daughter, I think.
He's just sweet.
He's
Well,
sweet.
Bella, or
Bella.
well,
What?
Bia, according to my little like audio recording thing that's been recording the whole time, we've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes.
That's
So this will
crazy.
definitely be a long episode.
But this was a great chapter.
I
I
really
thought it
liked it.
was I'm just really excited to see where it goes. And the next chapter is called Blood Type.
I also think in this chapter we cross over into page 100, which I feel like is an exciting milestone. Let's see. Yeah, it goes from page 85 to page 110. So it's kind of a bigger one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm hyped. Well, guys,
Oh,
Bia, is there anything else?
I have a secret Twilight shirt on, a nice
I
colored
love that.
crescent.
Bella, I was gonna, or I keep calling you Bella.
Wait, I feel
Bia,
like,
Bia, I was going to wear my Twilight shirt, and I don't know where I put it, but I came into this room and it was really cold, so I left my penguin sweater on, like
oh,
everybody.
yes,
How
yes,
cute.
penguin.
All right, Pookie, I'm
Hmm.
gonna try to make focaccia tonight.
Ooh, focaccia. I hardly know her.
If you like this episode, leave a like wherever you're listening and comment below what your favorite part of this chapter was. If you want to follow Edward and Bella's romance, subscribe to Twilight Tonight for more episodes. And hey, thanks!